reading taken from the Yom Kippur liturgy. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey. From childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead we see the victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey a sacred pilgrimage. Life is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, life everlasting. And these words, which are very fond of the hearts of the entire Stein family, it's a poem by Rabbi Jack Raymer in Silvering. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember him. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember him. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the beginning of the year, and when it ends, we will remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember him. And when we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember him. When we have joys we learn to share, we will remember him. So long as we live, he too shall live, for he is now a part of us as we remember him. If there were anyone who was the designated toastmaster and the spokesperson for his family, it was Harold Stein. In my mind's eye, I can almost imagine him standing at this podium right now, just as he did so many times in the past, marking one more passage in the life of his family or of his congregation, imparting wise counsel, and speaking of his love for all the things he held dearest. There would be that gentle, modest presence, speaking from his soul to yours. But don't mistake that demeanor for a lack of moral clarity or firm conviction. Hank was a man of principles: family, faith, country, who lived a life of honor and integrity in all he said and in all he did. He was a gentleman in every sense of that word, with a quiet dignity, the wisdom of years, and a sincerity that always sought the best in others, but also when someone or something wasn't quite kosher. He was one of those rare individuals whose inner qualities succeed in creating an atmosphere, an aura or a climate that was the extension of his personality. And so he was one of those men I always honored and admired, and whose approval meant the world to me. The words he shared to those assembled to mark my retirement touched my heart in ways that, to this day, I cannot forget. Perhaps my favorite Hank story concerns a high holy day appeal I asked him to do for the congregation many years ago. Hank understood that there was a spiritual core in responding to the financial needs of the congregation. And so he ascended the beam up, and drawing from his pocket the tiny Torah scroll he received at his religious school consecration when he was 5 years old, he spoke with a deeply felt sentiment and love for this congregation. The words were crafted into the point, but the heart he revealed touched our souls to the quick. To this day, that moment is the standard to which all subsequent appeals and words shared from this pulpit must aspire. And he was a patriarch. He was the elder of his family, whose words of counsel and of encouragement and blessing touched not only his sons and grandsons, but his many nephews and nieces as well. It was his blessing and mentorship that so many of us sought, and his influence grew out of our love and reverence for him. But now that voice is still, and that warm, kind face is no more. And it is only through the blessing of memory that we can keep him ours. Over the minutes ahead, his closest family will share so poignantly the measure of this man. A model of what it is to be a dedicated and loving husband, a beloved father, grandfather, brother, and uncle, a dear friend to Charlotte's sister Edie, a businessman whose ethics were above reproach, a man whose inner core moved him of his own choosing to serve this country, a faithful friend. Charlotte, our hearts go out to you. We know so clearly that your soul and Hank's were bound up with each other, and how you made each other's lives a blessing. Speaking now in this order, Charlotte, Norman, Michael, Joe, and Jay.
Congregation were always foremost on this mind. After his service, we settled in Elmhurst. We worked with his mom and dad in the family business, Honeygirl. It was a apparel store, a company of 2 stores. We were one big family as our parents were friends. We already had our oldest son, Norman, and things were good. 5 years later, along came Michael, and we thought our family was complete. Now, once again, skip ahead. The boys finished college, and Norman came into business with his dad. Hank's parents had retired, and now I was working with him. But he ran the business and had started to grow it from 2 stores to 10 at different times. The 3 of us had lunch together every day as long as the business lasted. Hank and I continued that custom almost every day of our married life. We were always together. We worked together. We were bridge partners. And though I love all of you present bridge partners, I have to confess, he was my favorite. We played duplicate bridge as competitive 3 times a week in Florida for many years. We took many trips with friends, but our favorites were when we were young, driving through Europe alone. Then, in the 1990s, the business that Hank had built up started to fail. It was not an easy task to unravel all those stores. He never complained, just said our lives would have to change. I suggested taking the real estate exam, as we were so used to going to work every morning together. He was first in the class, I was second. We did that for 2 years, and Hank discovered the computer and loved it. We left real estate, spent all his time following the market, which he had great interest in earlier. He did very well for all of us, including my sister. The best was yet to come. Norman brought a lovely Southern girl home, and her name is Lori, a wonderful addition to our family. In fact, she arranged this day for all of us, which is a very difficult day for us. She lost her own parents this year as well. Lori and Norman brought us our greatest gift, 2 wonderful grandsons, Joey and Jay. Joey came first, and Hank fell in love with him at first sight. When he was 2 years old, he already had an affinity with numbers. Hank had a private phone on the wall next to his desk. Joey learned how to use the phone, and he called his father every day, and he would say, "Come play." Hank would come and find me, and off we would go to play. How Hank cherished those calls, and all the rest that would come through his long life. And then came Jay, and he fell in love with him too. We saw them almost every day growing up, and whenever we went out, they would fight to sit next to their papa. So they squeezed in together, and I sat across alone. Loving how much they loved each other, I knew my time would come, and it did. We went to every sporting event or music event they participated in, and we continued lunches or dinners whenever they were available. Eventually, Joe moved to Austin, Texas, but spent a remarkable time here and would call us every Saturday at 11 o'clock. Hank loved those calls, even in his months when the last 2 months when he couldn't talk. He lit up when those phone calls came, and Joey talked to him. Jay remained local and would come by often to see us and to talk to his papa. How much Hank loved those visits. Hank was a wonderful father and a wonderful grandfather, never criticizing, but offering sound, wise advice. Though he was a quiet person, he had a way with words and was frequently asked to give eulogies and speeches, some of them here at this very pulpit. Every Thanksgiving, he gave our family a bit of wisdom. I hope they remember. Our son put together some of these talks, hard to decipher, as they were on scraps of paper. I'm going to read you just one of them. This is the book that he compiled. This is just some of Hank's speeches. This is Hank Norman, as her son, titled it Memories. Of course, he didn't do that. He just got up and said this. Memories are wonderful things. They allow you to relive the past, to relive happy and meaningful events, vacations, parties, graduations, family events, and so on. Soon this Thanksgiving will be a memory. Every day, things trigger memories. It might be a song you hear, a place you have been to before, or a person who looks like someone you knew. Friends and family who have passed on are not really gone. As long as we have memories of them, they will always be with us. After 83 years, I have many happy memories. I hope for you is that you will reach an older age and that you will also have happy memories. So, cherish your memories. They are blocks of your life. I think that was just one of them. That was every year it was like that. So I'm going to say that he had a hard time doing this because they were on scraps of paper and he had to decipher them. The person he loved most in the world was me. He was my ballast. He kept me focused on the important things of life. I don't know how I would live without this elegant man, so kind and so strong and generous, who has stood by my side for 69 years. My favorite song, and his as well, was Over the Rainbow. None of us know for sure what's over the rainbow, but if there is somewhere, I will find and I will love him for eternity. May God bless you, my darling, and give you peace now that your suffering is over.
Today, we say goodbye to Hank, to a very special man and the finest man I have ever known. So sweet and nice to everyone. My father was quiet and very humble, never boasting his accomplishments or pushing his opinions on anyone. He was very principled on how to live life, and he was very clear on what was right and what was wrong. Love your family, respect people, work hard, and love your country. My father loved his family without boundaries. He loved my mother's family and adored Joe Greenhut. He emulated Joe's way of treating people and living life. He loved Edie and took care of her and included her on outings with my mother. He loved his sister Elaine, and although they were far apart, he spoke with her regularly. He loved his nieces and nephews, Beth and Harry, Susan, Laurie and Mike, Lynn, and all of their children. He loved all of our cousins. He would often often tell me that even if you don't see your cousins or talk to them anymore, you should cherish every chance you get to be with them. My father was a very eloquent speaker, speaking at family and friends events. He gave us heartfelt speeches every Thanksgiving, gave eulogies, spoke at weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, and other events. He was very close to my brother Michael, and they were best friends, and they would confide together about everything. And Michael has helped my parents with so much over the years. My father loved and was amazed with his two grandsons, Joe and Jay. Playing with them every day when they were little, he would go to every sporting event that they played in, even going to Fargo, North Dakota, to see Joe wrestle at the Nationals tournament. He was always interested in what they were doing, even up to his last days. Oh, did he love Joey and Jay. But most of all, my father loved my mother so very much. Married for 69 years, they were never apart. And what a couple they were. They went everywhere together. They worked together. They played tennis, bridge, among other things. But the most special thing about their marriage was how they could tell each other anything, and they never let what was said affect their close bond. They were never apart on anything, and were more in love after 69 years together. Hank was a very principled man who believed in taking responsibilities very seriously. He worked very hard at his store Honey Girl, working full days, 6 days a week. He believed that one should judge others by their actions and deeds, not by their race or how they looked. He also believed in loving and serving your country. As a college student, he joined ROTC. After college, he voluntarily and willingly joined the Air Force. He didn't have to do this because he had a merit exemption, but he volunteered to do it anyway and never told my mother until about 5 years ago. Yes. When he was assigned as a lieutenant to the Strategic Air Command, the most elite unit in the Air Force. When assigned at Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota, among other things, he was the housing officer. When the base was full, officers were allowed to live in town. This was all fine and good until black officers arrived and there was no room for them on the base. This was back in 1958, and civil rights and equal housing hadn't arrived yet. My father went into town to acquire housing for the black officers and was flatly refused. He then appeared in front of the city council and pled for housing, stating that these men were officers, not enlisted men, in the most elite unit in the Air Force, and that they were serving the country and protecting those refusing to give them housing. The city council refused. Then my father took it a step further and went to the base commander to tell him what had transpired and the dilemma of finding suitable housing for the black officers. This resulted in him being punished and transferred to Goose Bay, Labrador, up near the Arctic Circle, separating him from my mother and me for a year. But this was really good for my parents' marriage because they learned that they wanted to be together forever. My father was way ahead of his time, advocating for equal housing before it and civil rights existed. He was ahead of his time regarding equal rights for women. At his apparel stores, Honey Girl, He had women managers running locations and operations at a time when men were managers of women's stores. He had bookkeeping, accounts receivable, accounts payable, shipping and receiving, all run by women. He believed in giving people a chance, and he would hire people that were down on their luck. Women who'd suffered horrible divorce, widows and old ladies. He gave them a chance, and many worked out for a number of years. I worked with my dad at Honey Girl for 11 years, and we never had a fight. This is very common and rare in family businesses, because in retail businesses, families always fought. He was the best to work for, honest and forthcoming. My father led his whole life this way. When the IRS audited him, they could not find anything wrong. He was a deal, and you could always count on him. He was very active in the community as a leading businessman and very active with the Chamber of Commerce. He was very involved with the redevelopment of downtown Elmhurst and served on the board of directors of the Chambers of Commerce. He even got me involved. He was devoted to the temple, contributing in many different ways, and continuing the Green Hut Stein legacy at Oak Park Temple. These are just a few examples of how great Harold was. My father was very gentle and sweet man. He respected everyone and treated them well. I especially appreciate the way he treated me, very patient and understanding through my rocky road of life. My father was the nicest and the best man I ever met. I will truly miss you, Dad, and I know many of you will too.
This is the saddest day of my life. I'm at the temple that my father loved, where he met my mother, and where he eloquently spoke on many happy and sad occasions. I'll never forget the eulogies he gave for my grandparents, Joe and Florence Greenhut from this beamer. I will never forget Joe and Jay's bar mitzvahs. You spoke at Rabbi Mervis's and Rabbi Gerson's retirement. You spoke at weddings, parties, and every Thanksgiving you had special words of thought. The last eulogy you ever gave was for your lifelong friend, Byron Weiss. It's hard to talk about my father without my mother. They were a unique team, a true partnership for 69 years. They did everything together, were rarely apart, and deeply loved each other. Mom, you did an extraordinary caring for Dad the last couple of years. Nobody could have taken better care than you. I know you went through a lot, and thank you. My dad did everything to make my life better. He worked very hard for many years at his business, Honey Girl. Family was very important to him. He
put me through college and law school without any debt. He made it possible for me and my brother to go to Camp Thunderbird and the Bath Tennis Club every summer, where my parents had many great tennis games. You made my law school graduation beyond exceptional and never ate so much. You even got up very early in the morning and waited in line for Rolling Stones tickets for me, so I wouldn't skip school. We shared many, many good times together. I remember playing catch on summer evenings in our big backyard and playing hockey in the basement. We enjoyed watching games and sporting events together. For several seasons, you took me to Bear games. And when Norman went to college and you had 3 tickets, you never took one of your friends, you always took one of mine. We went to many ball games, hockey games, car races, everything. And I will greatly miss watching games with you. I will miss our good times on Longboat Key. You were an honest, principled, compassionate man. While in Israel on a family vacation, you purchased a silver dog from a Holocaust survivor for more than you had to pay. That's because you like hearing people's stories. When my parents sold their 11 Dover Drive house, they reached a verbal agreement with the buyer. The Oriental man expressed concern about moving to Oak Brook. While the contract was being drawn up, a substantially higher offer or contract came in, and my father would not accept it because he had promised the Oriental man that he could move to Oak Brook. He did many kind deeds throughout his life for family, friends, and employees. He loved cars, so much so that he would buy one every year for many years. I couldn't wait to be old enough to drive them, and when I was, he taught me how to drive, and he let me drive all his cars. I would have to say, Dad, you will always be an example for me of hard work, honesty, and integrity. I will always be grateful for the many things I've learned from you. I will always love you, and I will miss you more than say.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for coming. I am Hank's oldest grandson, Joe. For everyone else, he was known as Hank or Harold, or even as Dad. But for me, it was different. He was always Papa. Starting from the moment I was born, Papa was there for me. Literally. He was with me the day I was born, and ever since then, he has been by my side. He's always been my #1 fan and always supporting me and cheering me on relentlessly and unconditionally. As a kid, he was around all the time, and we would play together every single day, as my grandma had mentioned. He taught me how to use the telephone, to call him, to leave work and come and play with me, as she had said. We would learn to play games like Monopoly, where I would always be the banker, and that was where my love of running the numbers may have began. We would do other various things as well, like going to feed ducks at a local pond, or just riding in the car in general to go wherever we were going, and that was always a special experience. We would love to go out to eat, too many times to count and too many occasions to remember. But throughout various phases of our life, we always had our favorite restaurants where we would go many, many times per week. These included great breakfast experiences at the Paradise Restaurant in Elmhurst, where we would watch the trains go by and count the cars as they would pass. It included Red Dragon Restaurant in Elmhurst, where we would go out for Chinese food all the time. Aurelio's, the pizza restaurant, with their pizza and coloring contests and video games that they had for us to play. And then later on, we would go to the Fresh Start Cafe every week and see the same faces there frequently. Later on in life, he taught me the game of golf, and that's where I first learned to play. And it ended up where we would play almost every week for many years. This was some of the most special times I've ever had with him, because we would be alone together, playing as a twosome, and just playing without having to talk much. We would enjoy the weather, which seemed to always be pretty great, and just enjoy the time alone together. Additionally, he was obviously there for my bar mitzvah, which was here on this stage almost 25 years ago. That meant so much to him, and I remember him giving a very touching speech at the time. In addition to all the other times we were at this temple for the high holidays and just sitting next to each other, enjoying the service. For some reason, I remember walking outside of the temple more than even being inside with him, and just again enjoying the weather that was going on at the time. Those experiences resonate with me in my mind. One of my favorite specific experiences was when I visited him in Florida at his condo when I was about 14, and it rained the entire trip. I couldn't have been more happy about the rain, because that just meant that we got to spend more time together inside, playing games and watching movies. This was one of the trips I remember most fondly, as well as one of the most great single experiences that I've had with him and my grandma. How could I forget all the sports that he has attended? I used to play almost every sport that there is, and he would be there for every game. I knew I could expect him to be there as my #1 fan to cheer me on and support me from the sidelines. This, even looking back on it, made me better at the sports that I was playing, because I drove that much harder to score a goal or win the game, to make him happy and make it worthwhile for his attendance and attention to the game. He would cheer me on in my school and work as I grew older, stressing the importance of those things and my dedication to hard work and to getting good grades. All of the support over my life that he's given has meant a lot and has been consistent and persistent since the day I was born. More recently, on my 30th birthday, is one of my favorite experiences that I had with him, because him and my grandma were taking me out, little did I know, to a surprise birthday party. This was downtown in the city in Chicago, and a lot of my friends and all of my family were there, and I did not know about the surprise ahead of time. And they drove me around nonsensically for what seemed like hours to throw me off course and not know about the surprise party. So we were running various errands, and I had no idea what was in store. And little did I know, everyone was sitting around waiting for me for a very long time. But it was certainly worth it, because it was probably the most memorable birthday that I've ever had, and maybe the most memorable memory that I have ever had with him. To this day, or until recently, and since I've moved to Austin, I would, like my grandma said, I would call him and her every Saturday to stay in touch, keep him updated on what I was doing, and keep him updated on the latest in technology. He was always interested in what I was doing and what was going on in the world, along with my perspective on it. You can tell by all of these stories how much I meant to him and how much he meant to me, and that shows what family meant to him and what it means to everyone in our family. You'll notice that many of my recollections are not even specific events, but just general activities that we did all the time that I think back fondly of. This is because we spent so much time together, and all of it was quality time due to our relationship and his demeanor within his approach to life. He was kind, fair, sincere, genuine. He had integrity, and he just had a love for life in the most pure way. He believed in following the golden rule, as he would call it, of treating others the way you would want to be treated. That was always very important to emphasize for him, especially as we were out at many of the restaurants that I named, spending countless times together. Everyone that knew him must have felt this and even inherit some of these traits the more they interacted with him. Even though he was rather quiet most of the time, he always had this effect on people where he would simply enjoy life and we would become a better person just by knowing him and experiences these characteristics. We essentially want to embody these characteristics to the point where we're learning and growing along with our relationship with him. And for those of us that were very close with him, it was even more special. He would be the one to always support you to do your best and to do what's right. He was also the one who would deliver the most impactful speeches at the most important milestones for all of his family and friends. Even though he was pretty quiet most of the time, we came to know him as an amazing and inspirational speaker, always speaking from the heart and resonating with the most important feelings of the audience at that particular time of each occasion. And as excellent as his speeches were, I think the most impressive thing of all is just how many people he impacted so deeply. Throughout his entire life, he gave countless speeches for many people of many generations at their most important milestones, leaving a deep and profound impact on their lives. It is in this way that he truly enriched the lives of those who knew him best. He was so supportive and reliable for us at all times, and he would cheer for us as we progressed throughout our lives. This resulted in us living as genuinely and fully as possible so as to honor him and to make him proud always. This is still the case today and for all days going forward, because I don't see this as saying goodbye, but it is an ongoing opportunity to make Papa proud with everything that I do in life. As my grandma had read from a speech earlier today, my Papa said, friends and family who pass on are not really gone. As long as we have memories of them, they will always be with us. Cherish your memories, they are the building blocks of your life. This is certainly true for me. I know he's still my #1 fan, watching me from the sideline of life and cheering me on as I play. I will always do my best to accomplish my goals and to live genuinely and ethically as my best self in order to honor him and make him proud. So rather than saying goodbye, Papa, I will say that I will always remember you. I will remember the great times that we've had. I will remember what you stood for, and I will continue to honor you and make you proud.
I have so many great memories with Papa. He always had a way of making me even the littlest things seem more fun and extravagant than they really were. When we were really young, he would go home from school and he'd let us take all the pillows in the house and set up our own little track course and Olympic jumping course, because we always wanted to do sports, even when I was very young. He knew my parents would not like that, so we always kind of kept it a secret from them, but they already knew. Even little things like when we'd go out to Aurelio's Pizza and we need to squeeze in one side of the booth just to be by hand, even though my grandma's left on the other side all alone, as she mentioned earlier. One year for New Year's, similar to my brother's surprise birthday party, he drove us around for hours when we were young kids, not telling us where we were going, and then ended up bringing me to my favorite place as a child, the Enchanted Castle, for New Year's. It wasn't just about the amazing times, though. It was also everything he taught me in life. Papa was the most inspirational man I've ever met. He never tried to sway me with his opinions, but always told me the right thing. Instead, he influenced everyone around him to be better through his excellent morals and strong character. He instilled those values in my father, and together they passed them down to me. He was the greatest role model I could have ever asked for, and always showed how people should be treated with dignity and respect. And it's not just the amazing things that we always did together throughout our lives that kept us so close, but it's just a genuine role model that everyone should have in life. He's an amazing man and will always be remembered and loved.
I invite you to please rise for the Hail Mary prayer, one true funeral prayer of contrition. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Harold Stein, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. Let us say, Amen. May he see.
The interment will take place at Waldheim Cemetery. It's gate number 47 on Des Plaines Avenue, and that is south of Roosevelt Road. We will be forming a funeral procession. The funeral procession will form on Harlem Avenue, facing south. We will probably start the procession at the stoplight just south of here. Please obtain an orange safety sticker for the inside right portion of your windshield. Drive with your high beam headlights on, your flashers on. You are permitted to go through a red light if the light changes, but please don't assume that the cars going from the other direction know that there's a funeral procession. Please drive very carefully. If I see the funeral procession has been cut off, I will pull off to the side and allow the rest of you to join. After the interment, the family is inviting everybody back to Ditkus and Oak Brook, and that information is in the service pamphlets that we've handed out. Following the acts to act as pallbearers: Joe Stein, Jay Stein, Chris Vardis, Matt Vardis, Jesse Haas, Alex Haas, A.J. Weil, and C.C. Weil. At this time, if all the pallbearers would please come forward, and you're going to follow behind the casket as we take the casket out to the hearse.
What? I am.
I think I need to ask all of you to step back for a moment because it's a little narrow here. We will please let go for a moment. I'm going to read your son in the back. Once you get out. Alders, please come back with you. Let's go to the right first. Next set. We want to put it up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You get this?
Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Robert.
Make your way on to either side of the meter. On the rollers, hold it on this side so we get all the way in. Roll it on in. Thank you. We're at the cemetery, please. Come back to the hearse. South. Facing south. Reception right there.
No problem.
But on the other side of the street, facing south.